Hi, everyone. This is Marilyn Bradford, and I would like to welcome you to my Left Turn podcast. What is your left turn? Writing a blog, parenting in a different way, letting go of the old because you are aware of something greater. Left turns are choices we can all make. It's about a willingness to step into the unknown in any area of your life, to trust yourself, to risk creating or trying something new. It's about letting your true uniqueness shine. The greatest people who have lived, artists, statesmen, writers, explorers, musicians, have all been people willing to turn left. What capacities do you have that you have not acknowledged? What would your life and the world be like if you were willing to turn left? Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Left Turn podcast. Today, I have a very proper, maybe not proper, English lady who's really quite wonderful, named Laura Simmonds. Laura has always had a curiosity and passion for the unexplained, magic and miracles, and an underlying knowing that reality really can be different and is possible. I love that, the magic. You just always knew about the magic and miracles.
I did. Yes.
After years of experimenting with countless modalities and techniques, she discovered Access Consciousness 12 years ago and has since been using the tools of Access to facilitate change for others and to create a life and living filled with fun, happiness, health, and exciting adventures. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Marilyn, for inviting me. I feel very honored to be joining you here today. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. I'm delighted to have you.
And thank you for the introduction, for being proper. I'm going to take it unapologetically.
Well, I know you've done a number of left turns in your life. What are some of the ones that really created a lot of change or that shocked other people or that were just you following your knowing?
Well, it's interesting because when you invited me onto this and gave me a quick rundown of the whole topic, and I was like looking at my life and going, gosh, I mean, I've created quite a number, I guess, of left turns in my life. I was married and I got divorced. I left my marriage, etc., etc. And then I was like, but I suppose during the time of those, you don't realize that you're making a left turn. You're just doing whatever it is that you kind of need to do at the time. And in retrospect, looking back on it, that's when you realize that actually that created the greatest change. So I was like, well, what am I going to talk about today? And then I was like, okay. So I want to take you back to my teenage years. To when I was probably about 15 years old. And, I was quite a bit bigger than I am now. I'm going to be talking about food and, about weight and things like that for this. I had a bit of a journey myself with all of this, which I want to share here today. And there was this boy that I liked, as one does when you're 15.
As one does.
And I can remember he called me fatty, and I was like, I was so shocked and so upset, and and I was like, but this is what kind of spurred me to I guess make a change. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do something different. And so I lost a lot of weight, and I then, I started to get noticed, and, boys started to give me attention, and I really liked it. I started to feel confident in myself. And as a teenager, that was hugely impressionable. But I was also, I got a little scared that I was going to put it back on. So I developed an eating disorder for for several years, my teenage years, bulimia actually. And, it just became my, my control, if you like, but it started off in that sense. But then, it kind of got out of control, as we know with addiction. It's not an easy thing to stop doing that.
Right.
I was also at a boarding school at the time, and and I wasn't going home a lot. My parents lived abroad, and I was during the time. I would sometimes I wouldn't feel great, and we'd have to go and see the nurse if we didn't feel great. But I didn't want to go and see the nurse because I didn't want her to find out my secret.
Right.
It was a secret, and you do everything to kind of cover that up, right?
Yes.
So what was the only thing that I could do at the time to kind of get myself feeling better? Um, and really, the only thing I had access to was water. And I know you may have heard this story. I know, and maybe a few other people might have listening to this particular part. So I would get water, and funny enough, I've got a glass right here. I'd get a glass of water, and I would hold it in my hands, and I would ask the water to change into whatever my body needed to,
Wow.
to kind of get rid of what it is that I was not feeling well from.
Uh-huh.
And I would do that, and then I would, and that was the only thing that I had really and I had to trust that was going to work,
Yes.
and and it did. Well, in my point of view, that it did.
Yeah.
And so I kind of built on that as a point of view, and every time I got sick, that's what I would do. Anyway,
I
fast
love it.
yeah.
Miracles early on.
So I guess that was one of the things that you could say started off my kind of knowing, although I didn't really know at the time. I just kind of felt I kind of got a knowing that doing something like that was going to contribute.
Mhm.
And then sort of several years later, when I really wanted to get myself well. So I took that concept from what I knew from the water and started to use that with the food I was eating. And
Now
I
say
started,
more about that, please. That's intriguing.
yeah. So I started to, my point of view became basically whatever I was going to eat and ingest would contribute to my body. So that because when you have an eating disorder, you have a fear of whatever it is you're eating, right?
Right. Right.
um, in some way. Well, at least that was what it was for me anyway, or some repercussion of what you're eating.
Yes.
And so the only thing that I could do to change that was my point of view, which was okay. I needed to change my point of view, which was okay. Rather than having a fear of it, it's like okay, what I'm eating now is actually going to contribute. And
Wow.
I did this and I kept on doing it over and over and over again. And I would say it took about a year before I started to have real confidence in actually in food again, and not having so much of a point of view about what I was eating. And I started to realize that actually I started to really trust my choices in what I was eating.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And so yeah, so I develop. I have a really amazing relationship with food. I don't have many points of view about what I eat because actually I don't really need to. Do you know what I mean? It's like that I've just had that as a point of view for years and years. And I think that kind of created the basis of my life, not just in what I eat, but in other things as well.
Right.
The choices sometimes what I was choosing, not just with my food or what I was drinking, but with other things that I was choosing as well. Yeah.
It's like you created this base, this foundation of magic and miracles.
Well, I didn't know that at the time, obviously.
Right.
It's actually only subsequently since being in Access,
Right.
and you know, kind of learning the tools of Access, that I've really even looked at that as something that I created as magical. For me anyway, it worked for me, and it created a huge change, and really contributed to my life and many things that, well, since then, really. But yeah, choosing Access, and then, the tools of Access, and, going to classes, and, just all the discussions and conversations around consciousness and magic and miracles, I sort of put two and two together and realized that actually that was really quite awesome. I hadn't really thought about it, much before then. So
That's really very, very cool.
yeah.
So what are some of the other left turns you've had since you were a teenager?
So I think the next thing really that that comes to mind was I got married at a very young age. Well, I was 24 at the time. And I had three amazing, beautiful daughters. And I was married for 12 years. And I think I had a good relationship with my ex-husband. But it sort of I began to feel trapped, like I couldn't really be me. As I've always been curious, as I said, as you said in the intro, I've always had a curiosity for the magic and miracles and the unexplained. So I've always been an explorer. Always, I did pretty much every single modality under the sun. But I would buy books and read them secretly. I didn't want anyone to know that I was kind of like, so interested in this, because my family, my friends, my husband were not interested in that, and didn't really sort of understand that side of me. So, but I did. I learned a lot. I probably secretly read over 100 books in a year or so.
That secret thing, like the secret
Yes.
with the bulimia.
Because we're going back a while. So this was when I had to go and buy books. I didn't have the tablets or the phone. The sort of access to books online or that you could listen to. And I just sort of built up such an interest and went to, well, I studied, I guess, through that a number of different modalities. I did Reiki, I did law of attraction, and various other things as well. I know a lot of people who go down this
They're all familiar.
have.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Astrology.
I'm sure people can relate to that.
Yes.
But yeah, and then I came to Access. So
the hiding thing that's what we do. We know we don't fit in.
yeah,
It's a really interesting kind of combination of knowing we're not going to fit in, yet a willingness. I don't care. I'm going to find a way to do this.
yeah,
Or I'm going to find a way to learn about these things.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So sorry. So going back to my marriage,
Yes.
I began to feel very trapped, like I couldn't be me
Uh-huh.
with I suppose the growth that I was choosing for myself. So I did. I left my marriage with three very small children, and
Wow.
just knowing that was really what I needed to do for me and my future. And yeah, it's a big leap. I know for anyone that leaves their marriage,
That's
it's a
huge.
huge leap.
Even without children, it's big.
Yeah,
But with
but also I would say even without a particular reason to leave your marriage, there was no real reason other than it just wasn't really working for me.
Yes.
I think that takes, quite, it took me 2 years really to unravel that bit.
But it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of knowing. And once again, I'm going to go ahead and do this, even if everyone thinks it's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it is. There's a certain amount of, you've got to follow your knowing.
Yes.
And really have the conviction to do whatever no matter what anyone else around you thinks. And I would also say, you don't need to have a story. I've told you a story about my past. It's not about a story. It's about really just, well, now I know, asking questions, following the energy, and, choosing every day,
Yes.
choosing something and just really going with what you know.
Yes.
And we can all be doing left turns every single day, but not really acknowledging it as well.
Right. So you moved out with 3 children. Now, did you have custody or did you get a job? Fill in the blanks here.
No, my ex and I we were, I mean, it was a reasonably amicable. I was absolutely determined that it was going to be like that. And so we did 50-50.
Mhm.
Right off the bat. I stayed quite close by to where he was, so it was really easy. And no matter what, I was determined to kind of, because he's always going to be the father of my children.
Yes,
We were always
absolutely.
going to have a relationship of some
Yeah.
sort. So I was determined that no matter what, it was going to be easy. And of course, it's not easy initially, um, but that didn't stop me from, always looking for the easier way
Uh-huh.
and not being a doormat at the same time.
Yeah.
Not sort of allowing it to unfold in a way that doesn't work for you, but always, it's about not reacting, not being confrontational, and
Uh-huh.
just willing willing in some ways to say or be what they need you to be in a moment,
Uh-huh.
just to you know what I mean?
I do know. In fact,
Yeah.
I think right here is a left turn that you probably have not acknowledged, which is that you knew you went for ease and
Yeah,
easy.
oh, yes, I
I,
guess so.
it really, that's not how this reality does it. You should have
No,
been
exactly.
screaming, trauma, and
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so as a result of that, actually sort of, I mean, this was 15 years ago now. We're
Yeah.
actually really good friends, and we support each other in a number of ways,
That's
which is
wonderful.
great. So
Yeah.
and it's been really easy, much easier for the children, and it's just, what can I say? It's been a really easy divorce as a
I
result.
love that. Yeah.
How to divorce easily.
Yes. How to do, yes, you should write a little book, How to Divorce or With
Exactly.
Ease. Yeah.
Yeah, with ease.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
So how did you find access? What brought you into access?
Well, I was doing a lot of different workshops, going
Mm.
to, this was actually after I left my husband. So it became a lot easier for me to do.
Yes, to do all those things.
Yeah. And I was doing workshops, I was going to workshops, I was looking, I was searching for things to do, I was seeking for more.
Uh-huh.
And I discovered, well, Gary and Dane actually came to London. Gary was doing a level, I think, 3 and 4, it was back then.
Yes.
Yes, a while
That,
back,
yeah,
this was 12
yeah,
or so years
yeah.
ago. And Dane was doing one of his Being You intros in
Uh-huh.
YouTube, and I saw something online about it, so I went along, and and I remember walking in. It must have been at the end of the first day. I remember walking into the ladies' room, the ladies' loo, and all these women, makeup all smudged and kind of looking a little bit like zombies, And I'm thinking, wow, these people are very out of it. I really noticed that, actually. Obviously know that they had just spent the whole day in class with,
Yes.
doing a whole foundation or level, what, 2 and 3. And but it really struck me that there
Mhm.
was, I mean, they weren't walking around like zombies in that sense, but there was this like, there was this like relaxation,
Yes.
I think. At the time, it was like they were like zombies, but now I know it's like that relax, like that bar state
Oh,
that you
right.
have,
The change.
that all
Yes.
just had their bars run.
Yes, that
Exactly.
too.
Yeah. But it was very different. And then I sat down and I listened, and one of the things that Dane had said was, always follow your knowing.
Mhm.
And that really that really resonated with me, because having done so many different modalities where it was, you need to do this, that, you need to do it this way,
Yes.
you've got to do it that way, you can't do X, Y, and Z. There was a lot of different, it was very structured.
Yes.
um, and it kind of, that didn't really work for me. What he said was really resonated in just that one sentence, and there were probably more as well, but that stands out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that's how I came to Access.
And then you just kept going to
Yeah,
more.
and then I was like, oh, I've got to do this. And then somebody offered to run my bars, and then I did a bars class pretty soon afterwards, and a foundation class actually. And then within 18 months, I was doing my CF training. I was like so determined.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And now do you work with Access, or I never know who does what. I'm always kind of like,
I do, yes. I have a few different hats in Access. So, working on with different people, different gaggles, and
uh-huh.
as well as doing my facilitator as well. So as well as doing
Yeah.
foundation class, bars classes, as much as I possibly can. And it's
Yeah.
been an amazing journey, having been a single parent with 3 children, not having ever done anything for myself, really.
Right, right.
I remember the bars class was probably the most money I'd ever spent on myself. And I was like, didn't
Wow.
do one. Um, and then obviously I did a bars class and a foundation class. I managed to get the money to do a foundation class pretty quick. And then I just did a load of bars classes. I
Mhm.
became a bars facilitator, and that's how I basically funded myself to become a facilitator. Yeah. So it's
It's
been
fun.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess looking back on my journey,
Yes.
that's really where I can acknowledge my choices.
Hmm.
I think up until really quite recently, I hadn't hadn't really acknowledged the choices that I'd made, and really my own knowing,
Hmm.
and how much that had kind of steered me on a path, and what my demand was, which was I just want this ease,
Yes, I love that.
ease, joy, and glory.
Yes, exactly.
In everything,
Well,
but yeah.
Laura, if someone asked you, give me one piece of advice or give me one tool, or what would you say?
Well, I think actually it's to acknowledge you,
Yeah.
because I think I've alluded to that a little bit here, because it's very easy to go through life and not acknowledge the left turns you're making all the
Yes.
time, um, and then beating yourself up. Are you
Mhm.
doing the right thing? But actually, and sometimes it's easier to come out the other side and then look back and then acknowledge, actually,
Yeah.
that was amazing, or that was pretty awesome, brave, courageous, whatever it is. But look back on your life and look and really acknowledge the choices that you've made and where you're at.
I think
um,
that's fabulous because, like you said, if if you don't acknowledge your courage and your choices and your brilliance, it's harder to show up that way in an odd way. And it's not being egotistical, it's saying what is.
yeah, totally. It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. And it really, the more you acknowledge as well, the more you be that. That's one
Yes.
of the things I also
Yeah.
learned along the way is,
Yes.
for instance, with what I was choosing with water, the more I did it, the more it just
Yeah.
was.
Yes.
The energy in which you do something, the more you do that, that's the more you start to create
Yes.
in your
Yes.
life. So, acknowledging you, not from as you say, an egotistical point of view, way or whatever, but from a really caring and kind and nurturing sort of place. It is. It's like bathing yourself in self-nurturance.
Oh, that's lovely. Yes, I'm
And
going to remember that.
yeah, and and when you start to see that, you can start to really be grateful as well. That's the other thing, is gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude for your choices, gratitude for what you do, gratitude for you, your body, for as much as gratitude as you can possibly be for you and your choices in your life and your being and your body really
It's such a creative energy.
yeah
People don't really get that.
I know, right?
Gratitude is an incredibly
Yeah,
creative energy.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. This is really interesting,
Oh,
informative, and inspiring, and
well,
I'm
thank
very glad
you.
you came on. Yes,
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's been great. Thank you so much, Marilyn.
you are most welcome. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Left Turn. I wonder what embracing left turns could create in your life. What magical possibilities might show up. Remember, when you choose left turns, you are joining a group of the most creative and brilliant people the world has ever known.